So I was filming, I got swatches on my hand, didn't turn the mic on. Something told me, look down, girl, look down. All right, we're gonna try this again. Not that y'all know that. Hey, good people, welcome back to Beauty and the Frizz. My name is Kara. Whether you're new or returning, thank you so much for stopping by for another Mimosas and Makeup. I'm excited to do this video because if you didn't know, I love to talk about eyeshadow palettes. So if you want to hear about the top 10 eyeshadow palettes in my collection as of right now, keep watching this video. Let me know what you think. And if makeup is your therapy and your love, if it makes you happy and you want to hang out with those who feel the same way, definitely consider joining the community. I'd love to have you back. All right, let's get started. So how are you? I'm great. I am having a quiet moment. Marky's with his grandparents and August is with my dad. So it's just quiet here. I did some yard work, so I just wanted to sit down and chat with you all about eyeshadow palettes. So lately I have been going through my makeup collection. So far I have posted a bronzer collection video, which I've never done before. I did a blush collection video, which I don't think I've done that before. I know I didn't do bronzer. Blush maybe, but I'm feeling like I haven't done that. I have done an eyeshadow collection video, and maybe I'll do another one this year. I'm not sure. When it comes to trying to lessen how much makeup I'm buying, I don't think I'm going to have too much of an issue with blush or bronzer. Those videos made it very clear. But eyeshadow palettes have always been the struggle. I do believe, and I haven't kept count or updated my little database, that I have purchased fewer eyeshadow palettes this year. I know I have been gifted some. Eyeshadow and me have not been the same. But I'm excited to talk about these palettes because it really shows my evolution. And it also shows which palettes are consistent favorites in my collection. So I'd love to do this from time to time. Please let me know how you're doing in the comment section or the chat, and we're gonna dive right in. I do wanna let you know that some of these palettes you might not be able to get your hands on. So that's just a disclaimer. And I'm also not ranking these. I'm not going in a particular order. This first palette has been a favorite of mine for a while, and it's a palette that I created with Lethal Cosmetics using their palette designer. I call this palette my Bordeaux palette. I just love the colors that I picked out in this one. This is a palette that whenever I don't know what I'm going for, I can always find something from this palette. It's the perfect spicy neutral palette for me, and it has a mix of formulas, mattes, regular shimmers, and duochromes. There's not one bad seat in the house. It's not one bad color that I wouldn't wear because I made it. I did swatch my 4 favorite shades. So let me zoom in. So this one is Event Horizon, and I love the duochrome shift in this shade. This one is Lithium. It's kind of antique-y, and this one is just a regular shimmer. There's no flip there. This one is Proxima, which has a nice flip here, and it's a little hard to tell, but it's a bright pink. It's got some golden sparkles, and it flips a bit green. I just can't get my angle right. This last one is Defiant, and that's a plain shimmer. I like this formula a lot. I tend to use the Lethal shimmers with a setting spray, but they don't really have a lot of fallout or anything like that at all. The mattes are a very nice formula, and they have every single color. You do have to be careful using the palette designer because you can get yourself in trouble. They do have some sales. They also have some pre-made palettes that people have created in the palette designer, and they are wonderful. But you want to make sure that these are shadows that you are going to like and wear, because this is going to add up to be more expensive than a pre-made palette from Lethal. Those usually run around $45, and I know I paid more than that for this palette. It also depends on how many duochromes or special formulas that you have in the palette that all is a part of it. But you can make quads, you can make a blush palette. Just play around on there. No, play around on there at your own risk, because that's how I got. But the 3 palettes that I've made from Lethal are very special to me, and they're palettes that I reach for. So that's palette number 1, my Bordeaux palette. Palette number 2 is from Melt Cosmetics, and this is 27. Here's the packaging. This is an old palette from Melt. It is not that old in my collection. It's probably a couple of years old. My very first palette from Melt was the Rust palette, and that was my long-standing favorite palette. You've heard me talk about Amore Mariposas as a favorite. And after bringing out She's in Parties, I think that's going to be one of my top favorite Melt palettes as well. 27 might be my number 1. I definitely have put this above Rust. I have to say that because I did take out one of the shadows from Rust. It was a really light one, and put something else in there. This one, I don't need to do anything to it. And it is the perfect, like, doesn't this say fall to you? This says fall leaves. And you have your warm side, and then you have your cool side. And there are 2 shimmers, and I'll swatch them because we know the shimmers are what we question from Melt. But here is the palette. I definitely think in 2024, this palette is still relevant. If you like doing all matte looks, if you like doing one and dones, if you just want to put a little shadow on your eyes before you go to work, this is the palette right here. I think it looks good on many skin tones, and you can use it all throughout the year, but this speaks fall to me. I love it. This shade right here just reminds me of like chocolate milk. I don't know. It's just a really special palette. But I'm gonna swatch Crime Fighter, which is this shimmer, because y'all know Melt, they can be kind of, it could be shaky, you know. But I think that's a nice quality shimmer from Melt. No duochromes, nothing like that. You know, we don't get those from Melt really. This one is Vegas Past. This palette really just goes with the eyeshadow aesthetic that I gravitate towards at this time. And I'm really happy to have it in my collection. Now, Melt palettes were typically $58, but all the Melt products are on sale at Sephora. And Melt has been having their own sales, 30% off, 50% off. This is a palette that you can probably get for $29. I do think it's worth that price. The mattes in this palette work beautifully. They're not the mattes from 420 or mattes that you think are going to blend away. I think the majority of the mattes from Melt perform very nicely, and I'm happy with this palette. So that's number 2. Also, let me know if you guessed any of the palettes that you thought would be a favorite. Palette number 3 is a newer one. This is Mineral Scapes from BYO. And I have to say, BYO to me has pulled off something that's tough to achieve in the makeup community, which is they're not releasing things all the time. I don't know how they're able to achieve that, but they've achieved it. They have the community on edge waiting for the big palette. The small palettes, I tried one and I wasn't wowed by it at all. It was dusty and not what I needed it to be. But this is my first large palette from BYO, and I have no regrets paying the $115. It hurts saying it, but I don't regret it. Here's what Mineral Scapes looks like if you have not seen it. I have no issues with this palette. The mattes perform very well, but there are some shimmers in here that are satiny that will work just like mattes. And then you have some shimmers. I just think this is a really unique color story, and I'm just glad to have it in my collection. I don't want to say I have FOMO, but if I could go back and get the Remembrance palette or the Flora Kalahari palette, I would for sure go back and get them. If you look them up on Mercari or eBay, they are charging $400, something crazy. Let me see. I really like this cool matte shade called Blue Dream. That's this one. This palette is done in a way where I can do a blue look, and I like these tones. Even these would work great for me. This periwinkle is called a Grounding Sky, another really beautiful shade. So it's like these steely blue grays are the types of blues that I really, really enjoy. Sandstone is pretty. It's kind of a antique-y, mossy type shimmer. And I could go on and on with shimmers from this palette. I would like to use this palette a little bit more. I have used it since I filmed it, but I would like to use it more. Really happy to have this one. I'm not sure if this one is still available, but I know it was coming in and out of stock. So I think if this palette is one that you want, just from my experience, these Byredo palettes do not come back at all. And before they had the Flora Kalahari palette, there was one called the Prism palette that was almost like a rainbow one. I didn't even see that one till this year. So those palettes go and they are gone. When they say limited edition, Byredo is one of the brands that does mean it. So Mineral Scapes is number 3. Palette number 4 is Ghost Town USA by Nomad Cosmetics. This one is coming back in stock along with Haunted Europe very soon for the, I guess, for the fall season. I love how they have this, what is it called? Lenticular motion. Is it lenticular? I think it is. But Nomad has really stepped up their game in the past couple of years. And this color story is just phenomenal to me because it's a cool toned, colorful palette. I really gravitated towards this color story when I saw it. I didn't think I was going to like it better than Haunted Europe, but I absolutely do. And I'm happy to have this. I will be pulling this out very soon. I do like how they are organized. You have a shimmer, then matte, then shimmer, then matte, and so on. But I have to say, the standouts for me aren't really the shimmers. They're these matte shades like Skinner's Saloon, which again is one of those steely blue grays. That would really go with what we just saw in Byredo. I really like Stagecoach Mary is a green, a cool green. Yeah, I love these. And the shimmers are nice as well. Let's watch Quicksilver, which is this one. Let's put it in between. So they really did a great job with this palette. This reminds me of the shade we just saw in the 27 palette, that kind of chocolate milky shade. Smoky Quartz is a really nice shimmer in this one as well. And I just think the performance of this palette was great. Unique, different, something I wasn't expecting from Nomad. So this is the top 10, my baby. Palette number 5 is the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. I took this on vacation with me to New Orleans this summer. One of the things I want to say about this palette is I did not give it too much of a chance when the palette came out, because this one released and then Nomad had a palette called the Okavango Safari that had very similar color story. So I was kind of using both around the same time. I don't think that I gave Yucca a chance to shine on its own. So here we are a year later and I am loving this palette a lot. I really like the cream to powder shade Calathea. I don't think I was a huge fan of the Natasha Denona cream to powder shades when I first started using them, but I think they're great. They are actually, you know, it made me want to pull out another palette that's actually, this didn't make me want to pull it out, but I have the MAC Feast Your Eyes palette, if y'all remember that one, that has some cream to powder shades. And I don't think the cream to powder swatch really well, so there's probably no point, but they perform so well on the eyes. And because this is such a deep shade, the way it swatches, it just shows like that's how it's going to come on your eye, and then you can build it up. There's some really good shimmers in here. I think Makia is one of the really good ones. Let's see. Yeah, that one's one of them. Let's look at Plantasia. I think what's special about this, honestly, again, are the mattes. And sometimes swatching them doesn't do them justice, but I like these earthy, mustardy mattes, and I I love an earthy color story, and that's what Yucca gives me. I like the shade Willow. I have the matching liner that goes with this. Well, I think were there two? There were three. One, two. I have two right here. I have all three of them. I thought there was one more. No, I don't know. I thought there was one more. That's the green Willow. So I know it's not swatching the greatest, but this is a really great palette. I have fallen in love with this, and so I am glad that I went back in my collection and pulled it out and took it on vacation so I could get some more like realistic use out of it. And I do realistic eye looks, so that's not the issue, but it's one thing doing something for a video, but then wanting to grab something in your daily life. And that's how I feel about the Yucca palette. And that is how I feel about this baby right here. Flying Fiddles. This will probably be one of my favorite releases of 2024. I am pretty certain about that. Adept really did the damn thing. Like, this was a neutral palette for Adept. This might still be too much for some people, but this is the spicy neutral that I need. I didn't take this palette to Las Vegas with me, but I pulled it. I just wore it, like literally just wore it. So when I can think about palettes, and I tried to come up with this list by not looking at any of my palettes. Like, I didn't go through and look at each shelf and say, oh, this is a favorite. No, I thought about them off the top of my head, because if they're living rent-free like that, it must be a favorite. So look how beautiful that is. This is just a gorgeous palette. I'm sorry. And the look I did recently, I used this shade, I used this shade, and then I just put a really spectacular duochrome. It might have been Rust Bunny. I can't remember what it was, but let's just swatch a few shades. So Rust Bunny is one I'm gonna swatch. I really like Rust Bunny a lot. It's a fiery duochrome. So that's Rust Bunny. There we go. So I love that color flip there. Metal foam is beautiful. It just shows that indie can do neutral and still be indie. Look at this one. This is Dahlia. Now that one is almost wet looking. And then we have Scorpion Grass and Blue Crown. I'm just going to swatch those two. Scorpion Grass is that marbleized shade, but when you put it all together, it has this icy green tone. And then Blue Crown is another duochrome. It's like a blue, almost blue to purple. And with this one, I like all the matte choices. I love a navy. And Tan Toffee Rose is a great transition shade. Sahara is beautiful. You can blend this out, but it still might be a little deep for some. You might want to start with Tan Toffee Rose. And then Daylily is a beautiful deep burgundy, like plum burgundy shade. Flying Fiddles, even down to the packaging with the lace on it, I just thought it was really unique and well done. Something different for Adept. I'm really proud to have this palette in my collection. All right, this next palette, I never filmed with it, but it is a top runner. And this is from Chanel. It is Eclat de Nuit. This came, this went. People were trying to get their hands on it. It did not come back. I went back and forth about it. It was sold out on the site. And then I found out there was a newer Chanel boutique near me, because I don't have Chanel boutiques near me. They were willing to sell it to me over the phone. And that's what it looks like. And I know that really does not look exciting, but I think Chanel did a very wonderful job with this quad. And every time I wear it, I pretty much wear it the same way, and I've worn it 3 or 4 times at this point. This is one of those ones that's like, I like what I like, and they did a really good job. So we have a black matte, but it's got a little sheen to it. The pigment on this is great. This one is so, it's not even black. It's not black. It's a charcoal. It's a charcoal gray, and it is so beautiful for smoking out the eyes. And that's why I liked Xenon so much. And I didn't put Xenon on here, although I had it out, because I haven't been using it lately. But maybe as the weather gets cooler, maybe that's a palette that I'll pull out, because that is my baby. But Xenon made me fall in love with these charcoal grays. We have this shimmer here. It is like a beige. This mushroom shade though, I know it looks ashy. I'm probably like, what? It's just one of those things that on the eye, it just looks good. It might be a little subtle, but. And lastly, they did a great job with this shimmer shade. And as you saw in the first palette, the Lethal palette, that lithium shade, this would kind of go in that family. Not exactly, but I like the antique-y, I was gonna say industrial. I don't know if they're industrial, but I like the antique shimmer colors. I'm thinking Commission from Sydney Grace, if you're familiar with that one. Shades like that I love. I just think Chanel did a really good job with this one. And I was saying, I have about 4 Chanel quads, but the very first one I got called Candor at Seduction, that one's like a red quad. I really like that one. I have one of the tweeds. That one's okay. And then I have one of their holiday ones that was a beautiful golden quad. And I love that one too. And then I have this one here. The one I didn't need was the tweeds, because I was really paying for that tweed pouch, but whatever. Talk about that. This one's a special one. Glad to have it. Top 10. This might really look lackluster. I'm sorry. I know it might. You might be like, well, you could have got the Natasha Denona Glam palette, but me and the Glam palette had our own issues. This one, I did repurchase the Glam palette though. I dismantled it, then I bought another one. That's a whole nother video. So that's palette number 7. 3 more left. This palette, y'all. Char, can we get this formula back, please? And this palette size. It's so sleek and luxuriously looking to me. It was making me feel like, do I need to go back and get Pillow Talk? But I'm like, no, you don't. I don't need to do that. But I'm happy to have the Jewel Eyes Hypnotized. This one has been discontinued. And I ended up purchasing this from the Sephora sale at one point. The palette had probably launched a year prior, because I think this was a holiday release. Maybe I got it the next year. I am so happy with this palette, and I don't think I used it until a year after that. So happy with the performance, the shimmers, all 3 little looks that you can do, because you got Happy Glow, Love Glow, Dream Glow, and Seduce Glow. Because the one that she came out after that, I had that one, and I think I sold it because there was one trio, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is for a ghost. Or like 2 of the shades were for a ghost and 1 was for a regular person. And I was just like, This one though, let's just swatch a couple of the shimmers. I'm going to swatch this one in the Happy Glow palette, because this one's very nice. Oh, let's put it here. I mean, I'm just saying, it's holding up right with Adept. You wouldn't be like if Adept just had a regular shadow that didn't have a flip to it, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't be like, oh, but that's Charlotte Tilbury. No, you wouldn't know. The Love Glow here is nice. And the feel of these, I mean, they feel buttery. And again, this palette's old. You know, I've had this palette going on 2 years at this point. Let's do the Dream Glow. I want to do this center purple. I wore this 3 times in Las Vegas. That says a lot. 3 times. I love that purple. That's like a purple from She's in Parties. So happy, really happy with this. I don't care if it's old. I'm going to keep on going on with Char. Yes, I am. I had to question myself about this one because we have history, because it had gotten returned. And this is the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. This is another one, y'all. I am like shocking myself. We were calling this the Zendo palette. Like, nobody was trying to do this palette. And then my eyeshadow kind of changed, and I was like, you know what? Every shimmer doesn't have to be a duochrome. Every shimmer doesn't have to have a lot of high sparkle and shine. I mean, I want it to be nice quality, of course, but it doesn't have to be all of that, you know? And I found myself really enjoying the mattes. For example, this shade Mindful, this is a cream to powder. This nice little chocolate brown, stop it. Love that. This all over the lid. Hello, and that's it. Hello and goodbye. That's all I need. I'm sorry. Ooh, FedEx is here. This is Zeal. Love this. Grimy, grungy. Just, oh, yes, that. And again, the shimmers, you may not be happy. I like the shade Sense right here. I wore this one. Like I said, these are just regular. A lot of people preferred the shimmers in the Yucca palette. Yama is a little duochrome, but it's not gonna have that high intense flip, but it is still a duochrome. So I just think for people who are looking to do some color, maybe have a little pop out and show out, you can use this. I use the blue as an inner corner highlight, trying to find creative ways. Let's see what they're dropping off. Cause I ordered some clothes. Cause I need, for work, the first couple of days of work, we got to wear certain colors, and I was like, I do not have anything green. This was a beautiful inner corner highlight, and I had it on with that. Yes, this was it. I love this. I'm so glad I repurchased it. I know I got it when it was on sale. All right, we have one more palette to go, and then I have to do 5 honorable mentions. I know that's a lot, but we're going to do them. Plus, I'm sure y'all don't mind talking about palettes. Palette number 10, can you guess, is one I wore lately. This. I didn't get this at the launch. I got this, I want to say during Black Friday, and maybe that's when I'll get that Longing palette, because see, that Longing palette is giving me Ghost Town, Nomad vibes. And I love that palette because you saw it on this video. And they just changed their logo, so they about to do something else. We're going to talk about, did I call it Dollhouse? All done up. I'm going to call it Dollhouse. I always do that. And I do have Dollhouse. That's another one that I repurchased that I need to bring out, but that's one other video. So here's the outside. Y'all, okay. What did I do? Because I had gone to the airport. I'm trying to think about what shades I used, but it was so good. And now I don't remember. But I know I used, like, was it Smoking? I don't remember. But I've worn this palette a couple times in July. It is so good, y'all. This is the line I wore when I went to the Vanderpump restaurant. Like, the shimmers are really good. I'm not going to swatch the mattes, but the mattes just blend themselves. And that's the thing now. I'm feeling like when I first got into makeup, a lot of the indie brands had really good shimmers, but not so good mattes. So there was still, and there may still be, a big appeal to the more mainstream brands, the more well-known brands, because they almost had that guaranteed matte formula that was great. Pat McGrath had great mattes. Huda Beauty, I think, has very nice mattes. Natasha Denona, right? But then not with Pat McGrath, but sometimes the shimmers, you might be like, you know, like I like the Dior mattes. I'm going to talk about a Dior palette in a minute. I like their mattes, how they blend, but the shimmers, sometimes I'm just like, you know. And with the indie, to me, it was vice versa. You might have some real powdery mattes or mattes that didn't blend well, patchy, and the shimmers were just out of this world. Well, now the indie brands are stepping up with the mattes, and I feel like a lot of that happened when blends came on the scene. And for a while, I was saying one of my top 10 palettes will always be the original blends palette. But since then, I haven't been wearing as much color, but I still think that is a great palette to have in my collection because I really enjoy the gradient, and I love how she designs the gradient of these, because when you go in with one of these shades and kind of outline it with this, or go in with this and then deepen it up, or however you want to do it, the gradient that it creates on the eye is so subtle, but it's something that I particularly like and notice. I love that we still have some of these mustardy colors, some cool tone. I mean, this is a palette I honestly could use every single day, and the shimmers are really nice in this. Now, that's another thing. Blends had the great mattes, even though this is indie, and then some of their shimmers people didn't like at first. And this is how I'm starting to see, like, oh my gosh, I've been around for a little minute, because their shimmers were like you can still push these in a little bit, but I think that they might have been more putty-like, and some people did not like that. I didn't start growing my blends collection. I had the blends OG for a long time. And then the second palette I think I got was Dollhouse. I sold that. And I really didn't get any more palettes until maybe the Machina palette, however you say it. And then I went and got All Done Up, Dollhouse. So I might have those 4 or 5 blends. All Done Up, Dollhouse, Machina. I think those are the ones I have. I might have another one, but I don't think so. And they make nice lip products too, but that's a whole different video. All right, these are my top 10 palettes of now. But I'm gonna show you some honorable mentions. They're honorable mentions because I have not, well, 4 of them, I have not used the way that I've wanted to use them, but they have potential. I just have to show you the palettes I made with Lethal because I made 3 palettes with Lethal. This one, I don't have a name. I think this was called Royal Earth because one of y'all gave me the name Royal Earth. I love this palette. Actually, this gives me Natasha Denona Yucca vibes in a way. And I love this palette. And I love the fact that whenever I want to, if I want to take any of these mattes or anything out and put something else in instead, is not going to be a problem. The shade Dark Matter is the one that's really interesting in this one because it's one of those black to red duochromes. And over the years, more brands have started to come out with them, but you don't see them all the time. I think the first one I had was from Notoriously Morbid in their Path to the Dark Side palette. So you can see it there. And there's some other great shades in here, but that's my standout. And I like to wear this on the outer corner as a matte smoke shade, even though it's a shimmer. I don't think I have a name for this one. I don't know. I won't call this Royal Jelly. I don't know why I said jelly. But standouts in this one, what is this? Genesis. Genesis is nice. Like, how can your top 10 not include a palette that you created? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really gorgeous. Exosphere. That might, I'm trying to think, that might be in another palette I have. But look at that. So this one's got some really nice shades. I like the blue grays, as I told you. So even though I've made these, when did I make these? 2022. It was either 2022, I think it was. I'm almost certain. At the very end of 2022, I made the Bordeaux palette, and then they had a sale. And then I think I made these. It might have been 2022 or the very, very beginning of 2023. And I like that I'm still feeling the same way about these palettes over a year later. That makes me happy. I need some consistency in my life. Like, I can't keep changing up because then it's like I can't keep buying stuff. That's why I'm trying to figure out now, like with a lot of the palettes that I haven't worn in a while, how to adapt them or combine them with something else that fits where I am now. All right, my next honorable mention is from Christian Dior. This is the 10 Colors. This is an eyeshadow palette, but I want to say it says it's a face palette too. Whatever. It's the Matza edition, the Mitza edition, not Matza, I'm hungry, but this is the Mitza edition. I just have to say, I know it looks real boring and pink, but this palette just does what I need it to do. I can use some of these shadows for blush, highlight if I feel like it. You can go pink, you can go like bright pink, but then you can also do kind of brown. It's just perfect. This is an everyday palette for me. I know it seems probably really boring. What I will say about the shimmers, as I said before, sometimes even with the ones from Chanel, see what I'm saying? It's not going to always be that in your face type shimmer. Like you can't even see that. But the mattes are just, to me, they're so nice. All out of like all the Dior quints that I have, the mattes are what really are outstanding in these palettes. And they do have more metallic shimmers. I have quads that contain that, but these are more satins. And so most of the time when I use this, the looks that I create are matte. And then just a little bit of one of these in a corner. And don't put this on as your lid shimmer. You're gonna be like, what is this? Like, who said that? I didn't. I mean you could. It's like nothing though. But I like all the shades. So those little satiny shimmers are inner corner highlights for me at best. 2 more honorable mentions, y'all. So that's gonna be 15 total, but I know y'all don't mind. I wanted to put this in the top 10, but I couldn't, because if I haven't used something since I filmed with it, I can do a preliminary, like, oh, I think this might be my favorite, but no, that's not fair. But it might be come the end of the year. Sorcerer's Smoke by Unearthly Cosmetics. This is their spicy neutral palette. This palette is amazing. This probably will move to a top 10. I have to knock something out. I had to mention it in this video. I love how you can make yourself 3 quads if you're not sure how you want to use these. That's how I filmed with it. The shimmers are very nice. This is transfixed. Nightshade, really nice. They're all nice. Vervain, I like Vervain too. This Vervain might be my favorite one. It's just a really good palette. And the choice of the mattes, I like how it's all checkered, you know. So really good setup. Unearthly is another brand. They get better and better. And the last palette that I'm going to talk about today, I've only used it once, but the Cozy Cabin palette from Simply Posh. I also right here have Coastal, and I will be using this, but I can already tell you, I think Cozy Cabin will beat out Coastal in a heartbeat, because there's some light blues in Coastal. But we'll see. Look at that. First of all, they kill me with the layout, because this is what I need. I need organization in my life. I don't know if y'all can tell, but organization is a struggle for me. Okay, struggle bus, getting better, but struggle bus. Call this a Christmas palette if you want to, but no, Cozy Cabin, I will Cozy Cabin it up at any time of year. I just remember really liking the looks I did with this. I think this shade right here is really unique, wintry, in my matte collection life. I don't even have anywhere for this to go. That's called Angel. I don't know if y'all could. This is really nice. Wow. Pine is beautiful. Festive. I mean, all of the colors in here are great. You know, I tend to just use them as is, but I mean, if you're creative, and I am creative, but sometimes I don't like to be. I like it monochromatic sometimes. So you can just mix and match that. I love that. I'll show y'all Coastal too though. But the choice of mattes might be, let me just look, because I don't remember. I think the choice of matte, I mean, I love, see, Coastal has that row right here in Coastal, this column is, matter of fact, these 2 columns in Coastal, these right here, those are getting me. Oh my gosh. I mean, I even like this column. Yeah. I still like it. These are the only 2 blues I don't really care for. Everything else, oh my gosh. This is so pretty. But no, Cozy Cabin is going to beat this one out. Oh, okay. Calm down. I'm getting excited. All right. So let me know what you thought about my top 10 favorite palettes of now, as well as the honorable mentions. I could keep going. You might want to know, where was Pat? Where's Pat? She's not on here right now. However, that lets me know that I need to pull out my Pat McGrath palettes. Now, I know my motherships are good. Like, we know that. But I do have items from her holiday collection from last year that I didn't use. Both of those mega motherships I got when they were on sale. There's one called Lunar Nightshade, and there's one called, I don't know what it's called, but there's a shade in there called Ruby Noir. So I need to pull those out and give them a whirl. That Lunar Nightshade, now that I've been into the cooler blues, there's some blues in there, icy blues. Yeah, I might have to give that a go. I still love Pat McGrath shadows. It's just I can't with the rigmarole. And you know, just coming out with stuff and it's got shades I already have. But my Pat McGrath collection is highly treasured and I really do love it. But she did not make the cut for this right now. If any of you have been with me for a long time and you're wondering where's Enduring Love by Sydney Grace, it just didn't make the cut right now because I've found some cooler tone palettes that I'm really loving. Enduring Love was always a standout for me because I didn't have many cool tone palettes and now I do. But that's another great one. Tiny Marvels, don't do it. That will always be in my heart, but it's not a top 10 of now. It's not what I'm reaching for at this time. So I'm trying to think of any other palettes that you might be like, I can't believe you didn't put this on. Xenon, I told you, I'm not really wearing Xenon like that right now. Oh, there's my bunnies, I see it. Heather Austin palette from Adept. I still love that palette very much, but Flying Fiddles, I don't know what she was doing when she created that, but Flying Fiddles is the one. And I'm trying to think of other favorites that I've mentioned in previous videos. Honestly, I feel like the Melt one might be the most consistent between Rust and 27 and maybe More Mary Posters. I can't remember what I said last time I did a video like this. Anything from Odin's Eye that might have been on the list is off because of the hard pan issue. I know what y'all about to say. Where's Notoriously Morbid? If I had to pick favorites from them, Mothman. Mothman is a real good palette. Oh my gosh, I gotta pull that out for makeup goals maybe. Mothman and Loki. But the thing about Loki is it's so messy. Loki is a messy palette. Mothman is great. All right, I think that's it. There's other Adept palettes that y'all know I loved. I'm just not wearing them right now. Sumerian Sunset, excuse me, Inspired. I mean, I wore that when I went to go see Beyonce. California Coast by Sydney Grace. I wore that when I went to go see Beyonce. So yeah, but you know, I'm always evolving and changing, but these 10, I'm staying beside them. Let me get on out of here because I could keep going. Thank you so much for taking out some. Oh, don't forget, let me know your top 10 too. Thank you so much for taking out some of your time and hanging out with me for another one today. I hope this was therapy for you. It always will be for me. And until I see you again, make sure you're being gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself nice. Stay safe. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye. Go on, blah,